We know that Liverpool need a midfielder, maybe they need a couple. He said he doesn't think that they're going to do that in this window. Are you in agreement?
I mean, Liam's clearly a frugal guy. He wants to save his cash for Jude Bellingham. I personally don't, I hate to say this for Liverpool fans, but I don't feel like Jude Bellingham will come to Liverpool, mainly because of the amount of money it's going to cost. And also Liverpool genuinely need two midfielders, not just one. As you've obviously got Henderson, who's now 31, I think. You've got Milner. Fabinho's not really looked himself for a little while. There's just, you've got Thiago, you've got Artur's going back. There's just not enough midfielders that are there for the long run. I do feel Liverpool need a midfielder right now. But if you cast your mind back to when Liverpool were in a top four race, when they had a lot of centre-back injuries, Klopp said, we're not signing a centre-back, and then managed to squeeze into the top four. That makes me fear that he's going to say, we need a midfielder, but I can probably graft our way to finishing in the top four. And I think Liverpool fans probably don't want me to say that, but
like Liam said, they're not going to panic buy, are they?
But in this situation, I think if they're waiting for Caicedo, for example, in the summer he's going to cost more. If you're saving up just for Bellingham and you need two midfielders, by the next window you'll need three. So you can't just save for one midfielder in this case.
But surely you've got to look at where they are in the table, you've got to look at the fact that they're sixth, and you've got to look at the competition around them as well and what their expectations are for this season. They've got to bring somebody in, surely. Before the end of this window, they've got to shore up that midfield and make sure that they've got enough, and that strength in depth. It's a phrase I always come back to, because the teams around them, whoever you are, your competitors, they've always got strength that they can bring on. And it feels like Liverpool, they're so far off Manchester City this season. They're so far off Arsenal this season as well. And it just feels like, what are Liverpool's expectations? Champions League minimum, surely. They want to be competing for the Premier League, we know that. But this season, they'll be looking to get into the Champions League. If they fail to do that, and that's because they didn't bring anybody in midfield during the January transfer window right now, that's going to be a huge issue, and that's going to have knock-on effects for them.
Would you argue though that Liverpool's transfer policy so far has been so flawless that they wait for the right player to come into the market? I think part of the reason they bought Cody Gakpo is because they thought he's available, he's young, he's another forward, we can bring him in on a relatively cheap deal. I don't feel like there's a midfielder on the market that Liverpool are willing to pay for.
It's a smart.
Yeah, although I do feel in this situation, I kind of agree with you where I go, if you finish 7th this season or 6th or 5th and you don't get in the Champions League, then Jude Bellingham's definitely not coming to Liverpool. So you have to fight. If you have to pay 10 million extra for Moses Caicedo or whoever you're after, now is the time to pay it so that you can make the top four.
It affects next season as well. If you don't get the Champions League and you go to buy that big midfielder in the summer, your finances are affected. If you're not in the Champions League, you can't compete with the teams that have qualified because they've got that windfall coming in. So it's a huge January for Liverpool. I personally don't think they'll bring a central midfielder in, but they would no way have expected to be this far off the top four at this stage of the season, and that's a concern.